Hello and welcome to Review for You, a twice-monthly journal about people and events of interest in the San Francisco Bay Area. My name is Peter Camarda. I'll be your host tonight. And we're broadcasting to you live on the San Francisco Public Access Channel, Comcast Channel 76, Astound Channel 30, and ATT Channel 99. Tonight we're going to talk about stairway walks and neighborhood walks in San Francisco. I have a guest coming who unfortunately is a little bit late, but he will be here momentarily. His name is Paul Brown, and he does a set of free walks in the city on the last Sunday of the month. So there'll be one coming up at the end of this month in April. And there's been one every month for about the past 5 or 6 months, I believe. The series of walks is loosely based on several books that describe the San Francisco staircase walks. There are about 350 staircases in San Francisco on the hills that you can walk up and down on. And Paul goes out to the neighborhoods and checks around what's interesting and does quite a bit of work on history. Sometimes he rents a zip car and checks around the neighborhood to see what else is of interest in the vicinity, and he looks up some of the history. They started out several years ago going to the chocolate factory, to the Scharfenberger chocolate factory, and they also went to the Muni Cable Car Museum. Paul is very interested in history. He did a reconstruction of the old San Francisco coastline using old maps. He does a lot of his research at the public library, and so he was able to find the old Yerba Buena coastline, which begins in the middle of the financial district. And so he did quite an interesting walk there, tracing the outlines of the cove and really where the city had its beginnings. And that's very interesting, of course, because so much of the financial district now is built on landfill, and it really gives you an idea of what San Francisco was like in the old days. He's also done a Barbary Coast Trail walk, and he's gone to other neighborhoods such as Forest Hill and Golden Gate Heights. I believe we'll have some pictures of those neighborhoods as well. Forest Hill is interesting because of the naming of the streets. Paul said that there was quite a bit of controversy when Forest Hill came under the jurisdiction of the city of San Francisco. I believe it was in 1973. And before that, it was a private association, homeowner association area, and the city was reluctant to take over control of the streets because the sidewalks and the plantings didn't meet city specifications. They hadn't been laid out according to San Francisco city specifications. So there was quite a bit of controversy about it, and apparently a trial and in court, and eventually the city accepted responsibility for the streets, but still not for some of the plantings and public areas, which are still maintained by the homeowners association. So that was a very interesting bit of San Francisco history too, learning how much of what we see today is the result of battles in the past in San Francisco history. And of course that area was planted originally by Adolf Sutro and his sort of environmental activists of the age who were very interested in promoting forests. That's why it was called Forest Hill. And of course the trees that they chose to plant were eucalyptus, which are not a native species. And in those days everyone thought eucalyptus was a wonder tree. And now, of course, there are lots of environmental questions about whether it's the best tree for the habitat and what it does to the other species that would normally live there. But, of course, Sutro was responsible also for planting all the trees that we find at the top of Mount Sutro up near UCSF. And so there's really quite a bit of controversial history there. So let me now welcome our guest, Paul Brown. who is a little bit out of breath. Welcome, Paul.
Hi. Hi, Peter.
Very good to see you. Welcome.
It's nice to see you again.
Welcome to Review for You. I've just been giving everybody a little bit of history. Why don't you tell them a little bit about how the walks got started, and I'll try and get the visuals set up while you're doing that. I'll put you on the camera here.
Okay. Well, sure. I moved back to San Francisco in 2003, and I was establishing my massage practice here in San Francisco. And part of my role as a massage therapist is to do a little bit of advocacy for more healthy lifestyles, for more healthy lifestyle choices. And you know, I don't really drink, and I'm not a huge gym goer. I like to walk and swim and stuff. So when I found this book called Stairway Walks in San Francisco by Ada Bakalinsky, I thought, oh, this would be a great way to promote my health advocacy, as well as explore some interesting parts of San Francisco that we may or may not necessarily go to in sort of our daily lives, and also to try to get away from some of the touristy areas. And you know, so that's sort of how I got started. And
I was telling them you started by going to the Muni Cable Car Barn and to the Scharfenberger chocolate factory.
That was my first sort of aborted attempt at starting a group up. I started this Yahoo group called The Backyard Tourist. And the whole idea of it was for people that lived in San Francisco who sort of avoid the touristy areas, to give them the opportunity to, you know, play tourist once in a while, because you know how many people that live here actually go down to Fisherman's Wharf all the time,
right?
You know,
right.
or things like that. And so, you know, it was a sort of like this tongue-in-cheek, and we rode the rails for the cable cars, and we went to the Cable Car Museum. We also did the Scharfenberger tour over in Berkeley, and then after that, it just sort of fell apart. Life, you know, sort of got in the way, and but the Stairway Walks was something that I started in December of 2008.
So that's been going quite a while now.
Yeah, I try to do one once a month. I don't always do one every single month, but I try to do one once a month, and it's been pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it.
And these walks are free, right?
They're free. You know, you can give me a donation if you want, but I don't really care, because, you know, the whole walk thing started because I have this interest in maps and history, and so in 2006, when I was looking at the that Stairway Walk book, I was looking at the Stairway Walk book, and then I started playing with Google Maps. Google Maps has this really cool feature where you can actually draw on the maps and annotate them and create your own maps. And so I had this interest in sort of exploring the original shoreline of San Francisco.
I was mentioning that to the audience before you arrived, that you'd really mapped out the whole Yerba Buena Cove shoreline.
Yeah, I looked at some historical maps. There's some really good online resources over at Cal Berkeley. They have the geology, basically their geology library of maps. And it's just fantastic. It's very rich, and it's lovely to go online and search for maps. And I found some maps from the 1850s, the 1870s, the 1880s, and I started taking those maps and sort of superimposing it over the Google map, and then sort of just drawing it on. And I came up with this map that was really quite startling to me when I saw how much of San Francisco was landfill. Really? It was really amazing. And then that just sort of led to drawing like the original borders of San Francisco when it was incorporated as a city, when the state was admitted into the Union, and you know, other things. And it was so then I just had this interest to see, because it was the 100th anniversary of the San Francisco earthquake and fire, how much of the original city was survived that. And because about 85% of the city was devastated by the earthquake.
And you were telling me, I think, that in some of the neighborhoods you go through, you pick out some of the architecture that survives from before the earthquake.
Right, and in fact, on this next coming up walk on April 25th, on the next walk, we're going to be walking through Russian Hill, and Russian Hill is one of the areas in the original boundaries of the city that has surviving architecture, so it'll be really fun and interesting to see those. It's mostly a bunch of old houses and things like that.
So just to give people the basic information, so for April 25th, the walk will start at what time?
It starts at 11 a.m., and it'll be the northeast corner of Polk and Greenwich.
Okay.